In this video, I'm going to go through what I personally believe is the best introductory technique for learning how to wheelie. Disclaimer, I'm still very much learning how to wheelie myself. But an issue I was having with all of the videos out there that claim to teach you how to wheelie is that they're often done by people who already know how to wheelie. So they're quite far along in the process already, and they tend to kind of skip over some of the more basic steps that I believe are required before you can get to some of the more advanced steps. Like, I'm not even anywhere close to finding the balance point yet, or, you know, getting the wheel up any more than just a few inches, but that's where you got to start though. And I think it would be useful to go into all of the detail of the first steps that are required when you're learning to wheelie. So that's what this video is about. Join me. So I'm honestly not even sure what this technique is called, if it has a name at all. It's, I don't know, maybe I should call it the brake throttle technique. What it isn't though is the clutch up technique, which if you'd watched some of my previous videos, that was what I was initially setting out to try to learn. But I realize now that clutch up is actually a few steps further along than where I'm at. So I'll come back to the clutch up technique later. But for now, I'm convinced that the technique I'll show you today is where you should start. At least it's where I feel most comfortable starting. So how does it work? Well, first of all, I recommend you do this in first. You're going to have more torque available to help you get the front wheel up. And at least for me, not going too fast is, you know, key at this point. Much of learning how to wheelie is just overcoming, you know, the sort of panic and fear that comes with realizing that you got your front wheel up in the air. So the more you can do to control that fear, the better. And yeah, at least for me, I feel like slower speeds are helpful in that regard. So let me just do a couple of wheelies here just to show you what it looks like, and then I'll break it down into its component parts. So shift down into first, brake, shift your weight forwards, and then as you come off the brake, you simultaneously hit the throttle and shift your weight back. And hopefully at least your front wheel should come off the road. So let's break down what's going on here. Obviously, you've got to be wearing all your protective gear. Find some nice, quiet, empty spot so you're not bothering people. So first, you do not want to be hovering your right hand over the front brake. Once you get the wheel up in the air a bit and you come down, the last thing you want to be doing is snatching the front brake. You will go straight over the handlebars. So, thing one, fingers off the brake lever. Next step, you're going to slow down a bit and get into first gear. For me, on my bike, and this is going to be different for you, this seems to work best at around 3,500 revs, or about 25-30 k's an hour. It's a good idea also to take your fingers off the clutch lever. Basically, you just want as much control of the handlebars as you can. If your fingers are on the levers, then you have a little bit less control, so make sure your fingers are off the clutch. The next step is sort of a three-parter, and I would recommend practicing each of the three parts independently so you understand what each of them is before you put them all together. The first step is just to tap the rear brake, and the objective is to compress the front suspension. Notice also that I'm resting my right foot on the lever between compressions. This is important because later on, once you do start getting the wheel up, you need to be in the habit of hovering your right foot over the brake lever. And this can get you out of trouble if you feel like you're going to loop it, or if you need to bring the front wheel back down again. So part 2 of the exercise is to blip the throttle. So you're going to give it a quick burst of power and then right off again. No clutch, and obviously keep your right fingers off the brake. Quick burst of power and then off again. You should definitely feel the bike really lurch forwards as you hit the power. And at this point you should also be hovering your right foot over the brake, not applying any brake at this point, just hovering it there, building that muscle memory. The goal at this stage is just to practice these very, very small little hops with the front wheel up in the air. You're not trying to go big. You're just trying to get into a headspace in which you're comfortable with the idea and the sensation of the front wheel coming up off the road. So the third and final part of this drill is a body position. So I'm not going to be up out of my seat, I'm not doing anything fancy, I'm not even really moving my butt in the seat all that much. I really am just moving my weight to the front a little bit and then back. To the front and back. So once again, my right foot is hovering over the brake. I'm not going to be compressing the brake at this point, and I'm not going to be hitting the throttle just yet. All I'm trying to do is just change the center of gravity of the bike a little bit. I'm definitely not pulling on the handlebars, and it's not a big sort of motion to the rear of the bike. It's just forwards and back, forwards and back. At this point, if I were you, I would pause the video, grab my bike and head out and just practice. Just practice those 3 steps. Step 1, tap the rear brake. Step 2, blip the throttle. Step 3, practice shifting your weight from the front to the back. And by the way, if you're enjoying this video, head on down the bottom there and hit subscribe. Time to put it all together. It puts a smile on your face. Woo! Alright guys, I am going to leave it there. And if you're going to be practicing this technique, my only advice is to really take it very, very slowly. Break it up into its component parts. Practice each part over and over again until you feel very comfortable with it. And when you do, only then bring those 3 parts together. I hope you found this useful. If you did, please do me a favor and head down the bottom there and hit subscribe. I'll be making more of these kinds of videos. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Thanks very much for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Cheers!